This is Monica Harper, and this is my intake interview. Okay, so Joe, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know this is a big step, so I want you to know that this first session is just going to be essentially gathering information so that we can set some goals together. I know how to help you, and I'm just getting more familiar with your situation. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So just for our records, what's your full name?
Joseph Fisher,
And how old are you, Joe?
27.
Are you married?
Yes.
And do you have any children?
No.
Okay. Um, where are you living at currently? Are you in a house of your own? Are you in an apartment?
It's a house, but we're renting it.
Okay. And who does anyone else live there with you, or are you on your own?
No, it's my wife.
Your wife. Okay. Um, and how long have you lived there?
Oh, about 8 months now.
8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the highest level of education you've completed?
High school.
High school.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you currently do for work?
Police officer.
Okay. And so then what's bringing you in today?
Um, I'm having some trouble with work. That's that's the big thing. Um,
Okay. What kind of trouble?
well, things from eh, things I'm struggling with are starting to affect my performance at work, and it's becoming an issue to the point where my superiors are upset with it. So I need to get
Okay.
help with it.
Um, are they the ones that recommended you to come in to see me today?
Yes.
Okay. Um, and so what are the things that are you saying that there are things at home that you're struggling with that are affecting your work performance?
Uh, yeah, yeah, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
like what?
Um, I'm under a lot of stress,
Okay.
and I don't cope with it very well.
Okay. Explain how you cope to me.
Um, honestly, I drink a lot,
Okay.
um, and I kind of shut people out.
Okay. So you said you drink a lot. How much is a lot?
Uh, just about 5 or 6 beers every day,
Okay.
and then weekends it's more.
Okay. And you said that you shut people out. Can you explain that when do you feel yourself shutting people out and what does that look like?
When I get stressed and when I get depressed, I distance myself from everybody. I
Okay.
kind of keep everybody away from me. I don't open up.
Okay. So stress and depression are essentially the root causes of some of the symptoms that you're describing. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll explore that a little bit further later on, but I just want to kind of get a general idea of what's bringing you in. Okay. So we're gonna go back quite a bit. Where were you born?
Bellevue, Ohio.
Okay. And what's your date of birth?
March 17th, 1994.
And to the best of your recollection, was all of your childhood development normal as far as like learning to read, learning to write, or were there some milestones that you maybe um, felt that you or from your memory, maybe someone told you you were maybe a very early walker, a very late walker, early to talk, late to talk, things like that?
Um, I know I ran before I walked.
Okay.
Um, Other than that, no. I think everything. I think I did everything pretty much on schedule. So
Okay. So no specific like learning disabilities or anything like that that you received special help with in
um,
school.
well, I did have a stutter.
A stutter.
Yeah,
Okay. Did you receive any kind of treatment for that?
yeah. I had a speech therapist when I was real little. Like,
Do you remember about how old?
I'd have been like kindergarten, first grade, so probably like 6, 7, maybe 8 years old at the most.
Okay. Anything else you can think of, like early childhood, school age?
Not early, no.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, so who all, so growing up in your home, who all were you raised with? Who all was there?
Um, for part of the time, I had my mom, my dad, two sisters, and a brother.
Okay. We'll come back to that here in just a second. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Where do you fall in the birth order in your family?
Second to last.
Second to last.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of how many total you said?
Four.
Four. Okay. How would you describe your ethnic or cultural heritage?
Um, German mostly.
German. Okay.
Yeah.
Or was that like a very um like were your people in your family recent immigrants, or was that a little bit further back?
It was back further. Yeah.
A few generations.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, the form here is asking for a description of your home life. Now, I know you had talked about like part of the time you were raised with some of your family. Would so break that down for me a little bit.
Um, I was probably about 10 or so when my mom and dad split up.
Okay.
So when they split up, one sister was old enough and she moved out on her own. The other one went with my mom, and then my brother stayed with my dad.
Okay.
So I kind of split time between them.
Okay. So, how much time would you said you split your time between your mom and your dad? How much time would you say you spent with each?
Mm, probably spent more time with dad than mom.
Okay.
Um, I tried to split it as evenly as possible. They pretty much left it up to me who I stayed and didn't stay with, so I tried to stay with them evenly, but it probably wound up my dad more. He stayed more local to where I was going to school. So,
Okay. So, overall, how would you just describe um, your home atmosphere growing up?
um, before they split up, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, a lot of arguing all the time. Um, I kind of kept to myself for the most part. There was enough of an age gap between my siblings and I that I didn't really, play with them or
Mm-hmm.
spend a whole lot of time with them. So I kind of just entertained myself. And then after they split, kind of stayed the same, honestly. Just kind of kept to myself and did my own thing. And yeah.
Okay. Um. So, uh, school wise, describe to me your experience in, um, like the grade school, middle school age. Do you feel, um, I mean, did you like school? Did you not? How was the social aspect, the academic aspect, kind of just in general terms?
Sure. Um, when I was little, like in elementary school, grade school, um, I actually liked school a lot. I didn't like to get up in the mornings. I've never been much of a morning person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I remember like kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Like I loved being at school once I was there. Um, I was friends with just about everybody. Uh, I did really well. They wanted to push me ahead a grade in second, third, fourth, and fifth. They wanted me to jump a grade. So I mean, I did really well in elementary school, and even up into junior high too. I was in the um, advanced classes.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I had a lot of friends in elementary school. Um, those friends kind of changed when I got to junior high. Now I didn't keep all the same friends, but um, I still had a lot of friends. They
Mhm.
just kind of changed over time.
Okay.
Um, I was a relatively social kid, elementary and junior high. Got along with just about everybody. Was able to find something to talk to just about anybody with.
Mhm.
Um, I was in sports, elementary, junior high. Um, yeah, that's probably it. Junior high, my grades started to slip just a little bit. Um, I kind of quit worrying as much about school and was more worried about the like social aspect of stuff. I was spending more time with friends. I was doing more things outside of school than I had been, and so I was not focusing as much on things like homework. I still got really good grades in school, like just because of tests, and when I was there.
Right.
But I didn't do homework. I didn't. I would miss quiz or I'd miss tests and things like that all the time,
Okay.
just because I just didn't do the homework and everything.
And and so how did that translate to your high school experience?
Um, high school it got worse. Um, I didn't the friends that I had in junior high. I only kept probably a handful of them. Freshman year of high school, it wasn't bad. I still had quite a few friends, but as the years went on, they dwindled down to maybe 4 or 5 by the time I was a senior. I really didn't have a whole lot of friends, and that was by design. I didn't. I just didn't hang out with any more than those 4 or 5 people ever. Um, but yeah, I was still in sports, but I never felt like I got along with any of the people that I was on teams with. Um, and my grades definitely slipped a lot. I still the same thing. I would still do really well on tests,
Mhm.
tests and quizzes, and when I was there, I would do good, but I wouldn't do anything outside of school. Period. No projects, no papers, nothing like that. If I couldn't get it done at the school, then it was almost definitely not going to get done. So some classes I did really well in, some classes I failed actually because of that.
Okay. And so you said high school was the highest um that you completed. Did you complete any
Yeah.
college?
I went to college, and I have some credits, but I never actually completed college. I never got a degree of any kind. So
Okay. Um explain that to me a little bit more. What stopped you?
um, honestly, myself, I was doing pretty good in some classes, um, and I liked some of the things that I was learning, but I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore. Got to a certain point where I just kind of gave up and let it all slip. So it yeah, between that and the idea of having to pay for it, I wasn't too ecstatic about that either.
Sure.
So, but
Did something happen that caused you to just give up? Like you expressed that you felt you were doing well, you were enjoying classes. Was it something that happened that caused you to kind of change your view on that a little bit?
yeah, one class I had a test or not a test, a project that we had been working on for a couple weeks, and I was procrastinating, doing the same thing that I'd done in high school. I was putting everything off and just saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal. I can get it done, between classes or something else." And I didn't and didn't and didn't, and it was pretty much the end of the time that we had to do it. And I realized there was no way I was going to be able to get it done, and that was going to be a big portion of our, you know, I think it was just our semester grade, not our entire quarter, but it was still going to be a big part of the grade, and I knew it was going to hurt me. and I knew from that point that I wasn't cut out for it. So I
For
just
the whole
quit.
college
Yeah,
experience, you mean?
yeah,
Okay.
because I knew that I was going to do the same thing in high school, and that some classes I was going to be fine with, some classes I wouldn't, and but you know, college doesn't work the way high school does. You can get a second chance, but you got to pay for it. So,
Right. I understand. Okay. Have you had any military history?
no, actually,
Okay.
I didn't have any, and then nobody in my family was either. So,
Okay. So let's switch gears to talk about work a little bit. What's the longest job that you've ever held?
um, let me think about that. I worked at a racetrack for about 3.5 years. I think that's the longest one that I had.
Okay. Doing what?
Concessions for the
Okay.
most part.
So your current job,
Hmm.
how long have you worked there?
I've been there for about a year now.
A year?
Yeah.
And so how would you describe your level of satisfaction with your current job and your current employer?
Um, I mean, I like my job. I think I do good work, um, and I have fun doing it. Um, my employer can kind of be a little bit of a pain, but it's every employer, I guess.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's about the same as what everybody would say about their employer. So,
Okay. Um, so the forum asks for you to describe your work problems, and I know you referenced those at the beginning initially that you
mhm.
said things from work start to get to you. You experience some stress. So unpack those a little bit for me. What are the issues that you're facing? What do those kind of look like?
um, well, I see a lot of things. Um, some things that you just kind of can't unsee, um, and they stick with me. I tend to carry them at home. I tend to carry them throughout the rest of my shift, throughout the rest of the week, the month. They just never goes away. Um, and then when I get home, I can't unwind. I can't de-stress because I just carry it all with me. And so to cope with that, I have a beer and then another. So
I see, and I can imagine that would be definitely a problem that a lot of folks would face in your line of work. Um, would you describe your financial history as good, fair, or poor?
um, pretty good actually. Um, yeah, I, I'm not too hard off financially, I guess.
Okay. Around how much do you make per year right now?
Um, I make about 45,000 a year.
45. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any history of gambling?
No gambling. I mean, I've gone to casinos before and you know played a little blackjack and stuff, but never. It's not like a problem. Like I don't do it on a
Okay.
regular basis.
More
Just
of a
yeah,
recreational thing.
every once in a while.
Okay. So we're gonna move to talk a little bit about um, sexual history. How would you identify your sexual orientation?
Straight.
And any history of physical abuse?
Um, no, I mean I got spanked when I was a kid, but other than that, no,
And you
nothing.
don't feel it was abusive?
No, no, nothing abusive.
Any history of sexual abuse?
No.
How about so it's asking for um, sexual history, relationship history? Do you feel that yours has been, um, I guess, normal for other people that you know, people that you're friends with? Anything traumatic or anything that sticks out to you in that sense?
No, nothing really traumatic. Um, yeah, it's pretty typical for at least the guys that I know my age. Yeah, it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. And then, how do you feel, as far as your support system goes? So, we ask these questions, to get a sense of, um, how well supported you're going to be as we start to unpack some issues. How well, um, because the more supported you are, the more likely it is that you're going to see results from this. So, do you feel you have a support system, family, friends, who's around you that you feel you can count on to support you in this?
Um, well, I have the people there that could support me, but I kind of, like I said before, I shut them out. I don't
Okay.
let people in. Um, I tend to try and deal with things on my own. I don't like getting help from other people. So, I mean, I have my wife
Hmm.
who is always there to listen. I have, family that would listen to, and some of the friends that I had in high school that I, hung out with a lot, I still have some of those, but I still, yeah, and I don't really confide in them or anything.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Moving on here to your spiritual history. How would you describe your religious beliefs?
Um, I'm not really all that religious. I've never, family was real, we went to church and everything, but I never really got into it. The whole idea of, I think churches are a money grab. I think that's all they really want to do. No.
Okay. Would you say so more like the agnostic, like something's out there we don't know what it is, the atheist where there's no God, just trying to get a sense of where you're at?
I guess the atheist part, I don't really think there's a whole lot out there pulling our strings. I think we're in a lot more control than people think we are or want to think we are. So,
Okay. So you don't, as of now, you said you grew
yeah,
up going to church, you don't go at all now?
no,
Okay.
especially yeah, with what I see on a regular basis, it just yeah, I can't think that there's somebody out there watching over us. That's us. So
I understand. Any type of um legal history?
um, I was arrested a couple times as a kid. Um, one time was for shoplifting. Um, some friends that I was hanging out with early high school years, they were big into shoplifting from like Walmart, Target, places like that. Um, I got caught taking some headphones one time,
Okay.
and so they called the cops, and I guess technically I wasn't arrested, but they did send a charge over, and I had to do community service for it. So,
Okay.
and
Anything else?
another time I was actually um, on a school property after school was over for the summer,
Hmm.
and a friend decided to break a window, and because I was there with him, I was charged too.
Okay.
So
This was still while you were still in high school.
yeah,
So nothing, but nothing since then. Nothing's pending or anything.
no, no,
Okay.
nothing now. I hope not.
um. Okay. So tell me about some of your strengths. What do you believe some of your strengths
um, I can compartmentalize pretty well.
are? Okay.
I think that especially helps me get through my job.
Hmm.
I may carry those things around with me and think about them a lot, but when push comes to shove, I can block them off and get done what needs to get done.
Hmm.
Um, I still have some of those friends from high school, so I guess loyalty
Sure.
is pretty high up there. Um, I mean, I'm a hard worker. I'll bust my butt for anybody. I think that's probably about it. So,
Okay. How about some of your weaknesses?
um, I don't let people get too close to me for the most part.
Hmm.
My wife got probably the closest one. Um, I tend to overthink things and worry about things and stress way too much. And I know I do it, but I can't stop from doing it anyways. If there's a worst case scenario, I'm going to find it in any situation, which can sometimes help in my job, but
Sure.
it, it still hurts on a regular basis. So I don't cope with really any kind of feelings very well. So
So feelings like emotional reactivity and things like that. Okay.
yeah.
When you're not at work, what do you do for your leisure when you have time to yourself?
Um, I try to work out. Um, usually once or twice a week. I try to work out. Um, other than that, I play video games every once in a while,
Okay.
and I like to drink. That's I have guns. I like to shoot and tinker with guns. Obviously, not while drinking, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, um, it lists here a few kind of general uh, symptoms or more diagnoses, I guess, here. So I'm just going to ask you if you have any, if you relate to any of these, and maybe like to what level you might. Um, the first one it lists actually is depression, which is a little bit of what we talked about at the beginning. That you know maybe you have some feelings there. Tell me a little bit about like maybe how often you feel depressed. Is this something that has come on more recently? Is this something that you maybe might see a pattern of earlier in life? And it's okay if you don't think of everything right now, but just to kind of get a general idea.
Yeah. I'm on a regular basis. I feel pretty down. Um, like I've gotten kicked in the gut, and I know when I wake up the next morning, I'm just going to get kicked in the gut again. Um, honestly, that's been something it was all the way through high school too. Um, that was that was part of why I just didn't really care as much about school or anything like that, and I know that affected my grades and stuff,
Hmm.
and why I kind of annexed some of the friends that I did. Um, but yeah, I mean it's definitely a regular basis now. Probably not quite as often before, but yeah, just about every day.
Okay. How about any kind of mania or anxiety?
Um, I guess anxiety probably just from the stress and worrying about everything all the time.
Sure.
I guess I've never been diagnosed with anxiety or anything like that, but from what I know about it, it's kind of similar to that.
Okay. Is it something that happens like coinciding with the times that you feel depressed, or does it happen as often as you feel depressed, or is that kind of a separate? Is that a separate time?
Honestly, the anxiety probably happens more often than the depression does.
Okay.
But the anxiety definitely helps lead to that depression.
Sure.
So I don't know if one can just build up to the other or not. I don't. What? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit further on too. Do you have panic attacks?
No. No, not really.
Okay. Any type of agoraphobia, like a fear of being around people?
I mean, I don't really like being around people, but I'm not. I guess I'm not afraid of it.
Okay. Any other phobias or anything that you experience like that?
Um, I can't swim because I can't get into water above my chest,
Okay.
and I am deathly afraid of spiders. But other than that, no, nothing serious.
Okay, and then last one is any kind of history of eating disorders.
No, I've always eaten healthy.
Okay, so we're going to go into a little bit of medical history and family history.
Okay.
Those are the last two sections of this phase of the assessment. Um, have you ever had um, measles?
Um, are measles chickenpox?
No.
No, I don't think so. Then
Okay. How about mumps?
no.
Chickenpox.
Yes,
Chickenpox.
I had chickenpox when I was a baby. Like only I don't think I was even a year old yet.
Oh, you lucky duck. Whooping cough.
Not that I know of.
Pneumonia.
Mm, I think I've had it undiagnosed before, but nothing that a doctor's ever said.
Tonsillitis.
No,
And appendicitis.
no.
Okay. Any other major illnesses of any kind?
Um, I had ulcers.
Okay.
I still technically have ulcers. Um,
When did those start?
um, I would have been 19, 20 when I was diagnosed with my first one, and I have three of them. So,
And you said that's still ongoing.
I mean, yeah, I don't have any issues with them, but anymore because they've kind of healed up. But they every once in a while they'll flare up a little bit and
Okay.
yeah, cause some
So you're not
problems.
currently taking any medication for them.
Um, I'm supposed to be, but I don't always. Once I start feeling better, I kind of wean myself off of it and I pay for it later, but I don't like taking medicine.
Do you notice with the ulcers? Do you notice that being related to any bouts of of the depression or anxiety?
Yeah. Um, when I have my regular everyday worries and that's usually not an issue, but I know when I have a really bad day that I'm probably going to be in pain the next day.
Okay.
It's usually I can usually tell when it's going to be a problem, and I try to take my medicine then that before it gets to be an issue, but I don't always catch it in time.
Okay. Have you ever been hospitalized for a tonsillectomy, chemical dependency, or appendectomy?
No.
Okay. Um, any type of allergies or environmental allergens?
Um, like I guess seasonal allergies is what
Okay.
they call them. Um, I guess some pollens or something in the air. Usually spring and summer. I kind of suffer from it once it gets a little colder in the fall, and then through winter I don't really have an issue. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So any medications other that are prescribed to you right now other than for the ulcers?
Other than for the ulcers, no, nothing prescribed right now. I take um, like Aleve and stuff, like Aleve and ibuprofen for my aches and pains. Carrying a vest and everything every day that gets to be a pain on the back and the hips and the legs. So
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah, so but yeah, nothing prescribed.
Okay. How old is your father?
Oh jeez, he's gonna be 48.
48.
Yeah, 48 this year.
Would you describe his health as good, fair, or poor?
Um, mm, I guess fair.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Um, I mean he's got diabetes and it's he
Okay.
doesn't take care of himself, but other than that, I mean he's relatively healthy, I guess. He's a drunk, but
Okay. And how old is your mother?
she is 49.
Okay. And how would you describe her health?
Um, uh, good, I guess. She's had some issues recently with, uh, she's had some hip issues, but other than that, I mean, she's,
Okay.
are you talking like physical or mental or.
Anything.
Um, I know she has a lot of problems with anxiety too.
Okay.
I know she had some depression issues when she was, I mean, she would always talk about how she had depression when she was younger, but I don't know if she still is dealing with it now. She kind of does the same thing I do. She doesn't really talk much about it.
Okay. And then is there anyone else in your family that you know of or that you can think of off the top of your head with any significant psychopathology? So any mental issues, anything that kind of sticks out in your family history that you know of?
Mm, my sister suffers from depression.
Okay. Is she
Um,
older or younger?
she's older.
Okay. Anyone else?
Um, I know all the guys in my family get like dementia. So I mean, they start to lose their minds once they hit around 55 or so. Their minds start to go. But no, other than that, that's pretty much it.
So all the guys, who is that?
Um, I guess all the guys on my dad's side. My dad, my grandpa, I know my uncle, and then I think my great grandpa too. I don't know any further back than that, but I know all of them have started to have issues.
Okay.
And I've even noticed it in my dad too, but he's too stubborn to go to the doctor for anything, so can't prove it.
Okay. That looks really good so far. So now we're going to talk about just some general symptoms. Just um, just because um, I definitely want to make sure we're getting a whole accurate picture, kind of where you're at, um, so that we can make sure we get on the right track for you. So I'm just essentially just gonna list through these, and you tell me yes or no if this is a symptom that you feel applies to you.
Okay.
Top of the list is depression, which um, we've already, we've already discussed a little bit. We'll go ahead and mark that. You said that's something you're experiencing pretty frequently. Like how many? Um, I'll put it in a little bit more concrete terms. Do you think how many days a week would you say that you feel depressed?
Well, I work 5 days out of the week, and it's guaranteed every day I work. Um, Weekends are sometimes better, sometimes worse. Right, probably like 6 days a week
Okay.
on average.
Okay.
Some weeks are better, some weeks are worse, but guaranteed at least 5 every week, and probably every couple weekends or so. Kind of
Okay.
rough. So
And so how about anxiety? I know we talked about that a little bit too.
that's pretty much a daily thing.
And stress.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty daily thing too.
Okay. Anger control.
Um, I actually do pretty well controlling my anger.
Okay.
Um, I tend to bottle things up a lot and then just repress it. So, um, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of problems with anger.
Okay. And panic attacks. I think we even talked about that a little bit before too.
Yeah, I don't really get panic attacks at all.
Okay. And then fears and phobias other than
I mean,
what
other than
what
water
we've
and
discussed.
spiders, nope. I think I'm all right.
How about grief or loss?
Um, I actually handle loss really well. Um, you're talking like death, right? Like,
Correct.
yeah, I hurt worse when I lose pets than I do when you know people go because it's just the cycle of life just is what it is. And I don't really try not to get too close to people for the most part. So
Okay.
yeah, I deal with it probably better than most people do.
How about any suicidal thoughts?
No, I don't, never really had any kind of suicidal thoughts. I get pretty down and out, but I don't think I've ever hit that plateau where I thought it was better to end it.
Okay. How about unwanted sexual experience?
Um, no, no, I get not really. No,
Okay. A sexuality issue of any kind.
no, I haven't really ever had any issues with that.
Emotional, physical, or sexual abuse.
Um, no, I mean when I was growing up, there was like I said, there was a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, and it was between my parents because they never should have been together in the first place. But um, it was we'd get in the middle of it, me and the siblings. Um, so we got screamed at a lot, we got yelled at a lot. Part of why I kept to myself was because I just if I got involved with anybody else, I'd end up getting yelled at for something. So I just kind of you know kept to myself. So I don't know if that counts or not, but
Okay. Any binge eating?
um, I mean, I guess there are some times when I'm just sitting there and I just eat and eat and eat and don't really think about it.
Would that coincide with times that you experience anxiety or depression, or are those different incidences?
Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, when I get sad and everything, I do probably eat a little bit more than I should, and I've noticed sometimes where I don't realize how much I've actually eaten and kind of disgusted with myself after I've done it. So yeah,
Okay. How about self-induced vomiting?
no,
Relationship problems?
yeah. Um, I've been told several times that I've sabotaged relationships before, which I don't think I do, but they say that I just don't let them in. I don't let people in very often, and so
Who's they?
family, friends,
Okay.
the exes.
Okay. How about family conflict?
Yeah. Um, I don't really get along with anybody in my family.
Okay.
Um, I have contact with one sister. Um, she's my little sister, and I still, you know, just try to keep in contact with her just because she's the youngest, and I was always felt protective of her. But everybody else in my family, I just kind of distance myself because they've all just gotten on my nerves or whatever over the years. So,
Okay. How about conflict with friends?
um, no, most of the, I mean, like I said before, I kind of pushed most of the friends away. The ones that I kept, I don't really have a whole lot of issues with, and that's part of why I kept them as friends was because we never really have any fights or issues or anything like that. We all get along pretty well.
Sure. How about conflict with people at work?
Yeah, um, I've been having some issues with coworkers, um, especially after long weekends or particularly rough days. The following days, I probably I did have too much to drink the night before or that weekend before, and I've come to work the next day and been a little bit more irritable than I should have been, and I've gotten into it with a couple coworkers. That's part of why sergeants sent me here. So,
Okay. How about a lack of relationship?
what do you mean by?
So, um, so do you feel like disconnected? Do you feel that you're not able um, to keep friends, to make friends? Do you how do you feel about the level of the number of or the depth of relationships that you have in your life?
Um, I think it could probably be better. I know, like I said, I don't let people in, and I think that's a big problem with friends. I know it's a problem with my wife and I. We haven't been married for too long, but we're already having some issues because I don't, confide in her. I don't talk to her. So, and I've been that way since before we got married.
Right.
So, that's one of the things that we fight about.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I know it's an issue.
Okay. How about indecisiveness?
Um, no, I'm a fairly decisive person. I kind of have to be with the job that I do.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I don't really have a problem with that.
How about low self-esteem?
Yeah, um, I've never had real high self esteem. I know even when I was a kid, I'd always find the flaws, whether it was big ears or big feet or whatever. Like it was just I always found something that was an issue, and yeah,
Okay. Career issues.
yeah. Um, I think I've burned a couple bridges at my current job already, and I think it's gonna be a problem, which is part of why I agreed to come here was because I want to try and make amends, but I don't think it's gonna work with the behaviors that I've been showing to them recently. But I'm gonna give it my best shot.
Okay. Um, academic concerns. You're not in school currently, are you?
No.
Okay. Financial pressures.
No, like I said, I mean the financial part, that's not really an issue. Um, I'm I'm making a decent amount of money. We're not really in a whole lot of debt. Um, luckily, I was smart enough to not go and blow all of my money every time I made it when I was younger. So I've had a have a pretty decent base when it comes to that. So
Okay. How about any multicultural issues that you might be facing?
no, not really.
Okay. Any sleep disturbance?
Yeah, I mean I don't sleep very well.
Okay.
Everybody always said that you wouldn't when you're a cop, so I just kind of chalk it up to that. But yeah, I don't sleep very well. I wake up, I have not really nightmares, just kind of rough dreams all the time.
Okay.
So
How many hours do you say you would get at night?
consecutively or altogether?
Altogether.
Um, 4.5, 5 hours maybe.
But it's broken, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. Any kind of ongoing physical complaints?
My back always hurts.
And I know we talked about the ulcers
Yeah,
too.
I gotta be careful with what I eat, and I know I drink too much for it, but
Okay. How about obsessive thinking?
yeah, I think that goes right along with my anxiety issues.
Hmm.
I get stressed about something, and I think about it a lot, and like I said, I will come up with any and every bad scenario, anything that could go wrong. I've already imagined it, so
Okay. Um, and here we've got one for alcohol and drug concerns. So we've talked about the alcohol. Do you have any history, whether now or previously, with any kind of other substances?
no,
Okay.
yeah, no, it's just been drinking since I was 14, but I was smart enough to stay away from everything else.
How about lack of assertiveness?
Mm, I mean, I could probably be more assertive, but I don't think it's really a problem.
Okay. Um, have you ever been affected by trauma, assault, or accident?
When I was, what was I, 5 years old, my parents were in a real bad accident, car accident,
Okay.
and I guess I got shaken around a little bit. I was in my car seat, but apparently the car seat came loose. So, um, I mean, I didn't have to go. I didn't have to go to the. I went to the hospital, but I didn't stay there or anything.
Okay.
I know my dad did. My mom came home with me, but yeah,
So no injuries as far as you're concerned.
nothing. Yeah, nothing serious. I know I had some scrapes and some bruises, and I remember not liking car rides, and I still don't really like car rides anymore if I'm not driving. So, but yeah, other than that, no.
Okay. So any other symptoms that maybe this list might have jogged for you? Any other? I know it's a pretty extensive list.
Yeah,
Anything else that you can think of?
no, nothing that I can think of.
Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. So we're going to move on now. When you had called into the office to set up the appointment, that we, um, and you had explained to them that you were coming because of the drinking, and then because of depression. So I know that we've uncovered, some other things to talk about, definitely over the course of talking through the symptoms and everything like that. But those are the two main, we call them presenting problems, that we're gonna, kind of try to dig a little bit deeper into, and kind of start to focus on. So I have two other sections that are specifically dedicated um, to the drinking, and then depression as well. So let's talk about Um, let's talk about the drinking a little bit. Have you ever felt the need to cut down on your drinking?
Yeah, it when I was just out of high school, I had when I was in high school I was going to parties and stuff all the time. But I know when I got out of high school and I went to start going to college, I was staying at home, but um, I still knew that I was drinking too much. And I knew it was gonna cause problems, so I actually did cut back for a little while. Um, but I know once I hit that point where I knew I wasn't gonna keep going to college, and I just kind of let it all go. Um, I started drinking a lot more. Um, I think that the doctors had said that that was, drinking was the main cause of my ulcers. That and the constantly overthinking things and the, being depressed. They said that those are going to hurt it too. But yeah, I started drinking a lot more. And then when I first started as a police officer, um, I I knew I needed to cut back. Um, I ended up not cutting back. I didn't really go any higher, but I didn't go any further back at all. So I know it's an issue, but it's kind of the only way I can really cope
Sure.
with what's going on.
Okay. Um, so so when you said you were diagnosed with the ulcers like 19, 20 years old, is that about the time that you had begun to cut back?
That was after I had I had already cut back and I was done with college. After that was had
I
finished
see.
college and then I started drinking heavily again, and then I started waking up with pains in my stomach. Um, I'd start to I started throwing up a lot. I started getting sick, having a whole lot of other issues, and went to the doctor, and that's when they said. So I guess it was after I ramped it up again is when that got diagnosed. But of course, I was a stupid 20-year-old kid, and I didn't care. So
Okay. Next question is if people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking.
have people annoyed me?
Yes. Like if
Yeah. um.
like who?
Well, it's actually the reason that my brother and I don't talk. He After I got diagnosed with the ulcers, he tried to talk me off the ledge. Um, and tried to get me to stop drinking and tried to, convince me that it wasn't good for me. I was essentially drinking myself to death, and it, I don't know. I guess it hit a little too close to home, and at the time, I didn't think we were really even close enough for him to be talking to me about it. So yeah, that that bugged me, and I kind of cut ties with him not too long after that. So yeah, and then I know that um, there have been past girlfriends, there have been past friends that have said the same thing. Like, man, you drink way too much. You gotta either you gotta cut it back, or we're not gonna be hanging out very much anymore. And that's usually the end of that. So usually the end of that relationship altogether.
And let's see. Have you ever felt bad or guilty about drinking?
Um, yeah, not when I was real little. Like I said, I started when I was like 14. When I was like 15 or 16, I got busted actually by a friend's mom. A friend and I were in their basement drinking, and friend's mom came down and caught us. She told my mom, and my mom gave me the whole "I'm disappointed in you" speech. Um, that sucked. Um, it got me to stop drinking for a little while, but then I gave in as soon as friends asked me to start drinking again. I gave right in. And then now my wife, I know it bugs her. She doesn't say a whole lot about it. She tries to get me to cope other ways and do other things. She doesn't harp on me about it because she knows that it helps. So,
Okay.
um, but I know it hurts her. I know she doesn't like it, and I know that it's not good for our relationship. So,
Okay. Last question for this section is have you ever had a drink first thing in the morning to steady your nerves or to get rid of a hangover?
yeah, yeah, especially the hangover part. Um, yeah, be hungover the next day and just take a shot or drink a beer and the hair of the dog, and it just to get rid of that and start the day off right, I guess. And then
Okay. Okay. Like I said, we'll, as the sessions go on, we'll revisit those things a little bit more in depth. That's just more, information gathering for us now for us to build on in the future.
sure.
Okay. So, um so the next one is a depression inventory. So it's going to ask these the kind of ranking questions. So it'll be a selection. Every question will be a selection of 4 statements, and so I'll read them off, and you can just let me know which statement most closely identifies with the depressive feelings that you experience.
Sure.
So the first one says, "I do not feel sad. I feel sad. I feel sad all the time, and I can't snap out of it. I am so sad and unhappy that I can't stand it." So which of those, they're kind of ranked. So which of those is most closely how you feel?
Um, the can't snap out of it one.
Okay. Um, Next is, "I am not particularly discouraged about the future. I feel discouraged about the future. I feel I have nothing to look forward to. I feel the future is hopeless and that things cannot improve."
Um, I guess the second one, the feel discouraged.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So number 3. "I do not feel like a failure. I feel I have failed more than the average person. As I look back on my life, all I can see is a lot of failures." Or, "I feel I am a complete failure as a person."
Mm, I see a lot of failures. Um, I guess the third one.
The third one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. "I get as much satisfaction out of things that as I used to. I don't enjoy things the way I used to. I don't get real satisfaction out of anything anymore." Or, "I am dissatisfied or bored with everything."
Um, the second one. I don't get as much satisfaction out of things. I guess I still get some satisfaction out of stuff, but
Okay.
yeah, not like I used to, I guess.
Okay. Um, let's see. "I don't feel particularly guilty. I feel guilty a good part of the time. I feel quite guilty most of the time, or I feel guilty all of the time."
I don't really feel guilty about anything.
You don't feel particularly guilty.
No.
Okay. "I don't feel I am being punished. I feel I may be punished. I expect to be punished. I feel I am being punished."
I mean, by having to be here, I guess I feel like I'm being punished,
Okay.
but I mean I did it to myself, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no right or wrong answers here. We're
Okay.
um, and this is something that we hope you know, you could take again a little bit later on and we'd see some different answers. So, just gives us a good foundation that we're going to be able to work from. Number 7, I don't feel disappointed in myself. I am disappointed in myself. I am disgusted with myself. I hate myself.
Um, I guess I'm kind of disgusted with myself.
Okay, so the third one.
Yeah.
I don't feel I am worse than anybody else. I am critical of myself for my weaknesses or mistakes. I blame myself all the time for my faults. I blame myself for everything bad that happens.
Mm, probably the last one.
You blame yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any thoughts of killing myself. I have thoughts of killing myself, but I would not carry them out. I would like to kill myself. I would kill myself if I had the chance.
Oh, the first one.
Okay. I don't cry any more than usual. I cry more now than I used to. I cry all the time now. I used to be able to cry, but now I can't cry even though I want to.
I'm not a big crier.
Okay. So the first one.
Yeah, first one. Yeah.
Number 11. I am no more irritated by things than I ever was. I am slightly more irritated now than usual. I am quite annoyed or irritated a good deal of the time, or I feel irritated all the time.
Mm, probably the last one.
Irritated all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I have not lost interest in other people. I am less interested in other people than I used to be. I have lost most of my interest in other people. I have lost all of my interest in other people.
I'd say most.
Most.
Yeah.
I make decisions about as well as I ever could. I put off making decisions more than I used to. I have greater difficulty in making decisions more than I used to. I can't make decisions at all anymore.
Um, I'd say the first one.
About as well as you ever could.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a problem with making decisions.
Okay. Um, I don't feel that I look any worse than I used to. I am worried that I am looking old or unattractive. I feel there are permanent changes in my appearance that make me look unattractive. I believe I look ugly.
Oh, man, I wouldn't call myself ugly. Probably the second one.
The second one.
Yeah. I know I've looked in the mirror sometimes and I've done some damage to myself that's not going to change. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Okay. Um, Next one is I can work about as well as before. It takes an extra effort to get started at doing something. I have to push myself very hard to do anything. I can't do any work at all.
um, probably the second one. I have to,
Extra effort.
yeah, just extra effort. Yeah.
Okay. I can sleep as well as usual. I don't sleep as well as I used to. I wake up 1 to 2 hours earlier than usual and find it hard to get back to sleep. I wake up several hours earlier than I used to and I cannot get back to sleep.
I mean, it's not really hours earlier. It's just I wake up a lot, so I guess probably the last one.
Okay,
Just a little different, but
sure. You're more restless.
yeah.
I don't get more tired than usual. I get tired more easily than I used to. I get tired from doing almost anything. I am too tired to do anything.
Probably the third one.
Tired from
Um,
doing almost anything.
yeah, I get tired really easily.
Okay. My appetite is no worse than usual. My appetite is not as good as it used to be. My appetite is much worse now. I have no appetite at all anymore.
My appetite's pretty fine. I mean, hasn't not really
No
affected.
worse.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
I haven't lost much weight, if any, lately. I have lost more than 5 pounds, lost more than 10 pounds, or lost more than 15 pounds.
I haven't lost weight.
Okay.
Gained a little bit, but not lost any.
I am no more worried about my health than usual. I am worried about physical problems like aches, pains, upset stomach, or constipation. I am very worried about physical problems, and it's hard to think of much else. I am so worried about my physical problems that I cannot think of anything else.
Probably the second one. I'm worried about it,
You're
but
worried about it. Okay. And last one. I have not noticed any recent changes in my interest in sex. I am less interested in sex than I used to be. I have almost no interest in sex. I have lost interest in sex completely.
not really any kind of a change.
No change. Okay.
No.
Okay. So let me. So this um, the final section is um, more of a summary for me. I'm just going to look over it just quickly to make sure that we've discussed everything that I need to fill out this section. Um, oh, here we go. See, I'm glad I did this. Um, so when in talking about the depression and anxiety, those look differently in different people. They kind of manifest themselves in some different ways. So when you feel depressed, um, how do you know? What are some of the symptoms that you're you're experiencing depression?
Um, I start to crave a beer. Um, I know that started way back when I was in high school. Um, I knew when I was sad or upset about something, I wanted a beer, and then it got to a point where, okay, now I need a beer, and then it got to a point where I really didn't want to do much else but have a beer, and that's kind of where it's gotten to now, where if I can tell it's coming when I think to myself, not just I want a beer, but I need a beer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know it's coming, and the only way to get around it is to have a beer
Okay.
and then another. So
Okay. So how about symptoms of anxiety? Um, when you're feeling anxious, what's going on for you physically?
um, that one's a little harder to pinpoint exactly because I tend to have anxiety over just about everything. Like I said, I overthink everything. I think of the worst case scenarios in just about every situation I'm in. Um, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly like what the symptoms are, I guess, because like I don't really. It's just something that's always there. Um, I'm I constantly run a hot temperature. Um,
Okay.
like I'm always sweating. I'm always sweaty. I'm always clammy. Um, my mouth constantly feels dry. Um, and I know when it. I guess I know when it's getting worse. Um, my stutter starts to come back.
Okay.
So like when I know that for the most part, when I was little, they kind of helped me get past it. But I know when I'm starting to get real anxious and when I'm starting to get real worried about stuff,
Mhm.
that's when I start to stutter again.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I'll repeat myself and not even realize that I did it. Um, Sometimes I just can't get the words to come out, and yeah.
Okay. Um, do you experience any hal- hallucinations?
Um, no, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, not that I can think of at least.
Any homicidal ideation? Any thoughts of killing anyone?
Um, yeah. Um, in my job, I see a lot of people doing a lot of bad things, um, and on a regular basis, I have thought of things I would like to do to people that have done certain things. Um, you've seen crimes against kids, real little kids, um, whether it's abuse, sexual, emotional, whatever. I have a hard time getting past that. And then, like I said before, I have a very big attachment to animals. So if I see animal abuse of any kind, that kind of triggers me. Um, I saw a guy pull his dog out of a car the one day and just start wailing on him. I was a
Mm.
block away. Um, Saw him start doing it. I turned my lights on my cruiser and I went flying up to him, and it took everything I had to not make the biggest mistake of my life right then and there.
Mhm.
I did. I was able to control it. Like I said, for the most part, I don't have a whole lot of anger issues. I can control, you know, the outbursts, but it took a
You
lot.
can visualize it.
Yeah, I can see myself. I can see exactly what I'm doing and or exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it perfectly. I'm just able to control myself and not do it.
Okay. But any do you have specific concrete plans directed toward any one particular person as of right now?
No, no, I guess it's not directed. Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay.
I can, I'm very good at remembering names and faces, so I remember the names and faces of all the people that you know, at that time would have liked to, but it's always just like a fleeting thing. Like it's not,
Okay.
I'm not, you know, I'm constantly thinking about the bad things that happened, but I'm not constantly thinking about the bad things I wanted to do to them, to the people that did it,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
I understand that would be a very real, um, those are very real situations that I'm sure that lots of the folks that work in the same line of work as you do experience. Okay. Do you experience any obsessive thoughts or worries of any kind? Say about like illness, violence toward anyone, death, contamination, doubt, anything that kind of is you would say is an obsessive, ever present thought in your mind?
Um, Failure, I guess, is the common theme in
Okay.
most of my like constant worries.
Okay.
Um, Especially in what I do now. If I fail, somebody gets hurt or somebody dies. Um, so that's part of why I'm constantly thinking the worst case scenarios. I'm trying to prepare myself for the worst, so that way I can avoid that failure.
Mhm.
Um, but I do it in just about everything. Um, Even little projects like doing work on like our, if we had to do work on our house or something like that, like if I, put a hole in the wall and I have to fix the hole, what if I screw it up and I do something wrong and I make it worse? Or what if I,
Mhm.
don't do a good enough job and our landlord finds out and kicks us out? And then I start to spiral. I'll start
Okay.
thinking about what I do wrong. What would I do wrong after that? What's the next thing that I'm gonna do wrong? What could go wrong after that? And yeah,
Mhm.
it just gets worse.
How about um any compulsions that you have? Um, hand washing, counting, checking, doors, locks, whatever, specific things you have to touch, anything like that.
Um, I tend to play with my ring a lot. It actually got pointed out to me that I do that. I take it off, I put it on, I spin it a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and I also talk with my hands a lot. Um, so I guess that would probably be it. I mean, other than that, yeah, I the locks thing. I probably check my locks every night before I go to bed, make sure all the doors are locked, windows are locked.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm sitting in my cruiser, if I'm just sitting somewhere, even if I know that the doors are locked, I'll still hit the lock button just out of, you know, preparedness. Like I just want to make sure everything's locked up and secured. But
Sure.
yeah, other than that stuff, I guess not really.
Okay. Um, do you have a history of losing consciousness, seizures, or blackouts?
You mean other than when I've drank too much?
Yes, other than when you drank too much.
Um, no, not really. Um, yeah, not that I can remember at least.
Okay. Would you say that you have any impairments to your concentration? How are you able to concentrate, whether at work or at home or wherever?
No, I'm pretty good about blocking stuff out. I mean, I other than like my own thoughts, I guess I can kind of derail myself sometimes when it comes to like the worrying.
Okay.
Um,
Did you
it
find that it inhibits your work? Does it interrupt your work?
Yeah, it has a couple times. Um, I'll start to spiral a little bit and overthink things and think that I screwed stuff up and I'll kind of I'll make things worse by trying to fix things that didn't need to be fixed.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's affected my work a couple times, and that's I've gotten into an argument with a coworker before because of it because it's affected my work. So
Okay.
yeah.
Um, how do you find your general memory is? I know that you said you remember faces and names from work pretty well, but overall in general, whether it's memories from childhood, remembering to go to the store on the way home from work, anything like that, do you find you're particularly forgetful?
Um, it's kind of weird. So when I'm at work, it's like a switch flips, and I'm really good at remembering just about anything I need to. Whether it's little details like the color of a hair tie that a girl was wearing at a scene, all the way up to big things like the type of vehicle that a guy was driving when he drove away from a hit skip. Things like that. Like I remember those, pretty easily.
Mhm.
But as soon as I'm done working, it, like I said, a switch flips back off, and I can't remember anything to save my life. I forget to leave, forget to take my phone when I leave the house. I've locked myself out of the house so many times. My wife actually got ridiculously mad at me and started hiding keys all over outside of the house
Okay.
to try and make sure that I had something to get into the house with.
Mhm.
Uh, it's stupid things like that that I have a hard time remembering. And like it's funny that you made the comment about like going to the store because that's I've just recently forgotten to go to the store as soon as I got off of work like I was supposed to and caused an issue. So yeah, I don't have the greatest memory, but when I'm at work, it's everything's crystal clear.
Okay. Do you experience any amnesia?
Um, that's where you like lose parts of like time, right?
Yes.
No, not other than when I've drank too much.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise
this
no,
is
not really.
geared more in a medical sense.
Okay.
Um, and then how would you say your impulse control is? Good, fair, or poor?
Um, again, are we talking at work or not at work? Um, at work, I would say my impulse control is pretty good. Um, I mean, I've been presented with opportunities to, you know, do things like take money that nobody would have noticed that I took, or, um, you know, I'm in a cop car, so I can get away with things if I really wanted to
Sure.
that other people wouldn't be able to. But I, have always been pretty good about not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I'm out of work, I mean, I if I see something and I want it, I get it. Like I buy it. Like I have a hard time controlling myself when it comes to that. Um, luckily, I'm not strapped for cash, so it doesn't really cause issues. But you know, I know it's still a problem. Um, I have a hard time with if I want to do something, I just go do it. Like I don't really think a whole lot about it. I don't give it a second thought. I just go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a whole lot about my actions before I do them sometimes.
Okay. Well, it looks to me um, like we've got an excellent foundation to work off of. Thank you so much for being so open, for being honest with me. Is there anything else that you feel maybe we didn't cover? Anything else that you feel that I should know about?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all this, and I'll be going over this. We'll talk about some of the results from the depression inventory, um, as well as some other things that we can build off of here. This is a good foundation, and as long as you're willing to, you know, to commit to to healing, to taking those steps, I think that you stand a very good chance of seeing a very good outcome from our relationship together. So I hope that that's something that you're willing to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and it was good to meet you.
Thank you.